So, welcome everyone. I'm EmmoLei Sankofa, your Vice President, and I just want to thank you all for joining us today for our Insight session, our AWFC Insight session. And I'm really excited about today's conversation because I think it's relevant to composers at every stage of their careers. And many of us work primarily in film and television and may not be fully aware of the opportunities that exist within the production music space. And I'm sure others of us joining today may already be writing for production music, and understand firsthand the challenges of getting your music in front of the right people. So as the production music landscape continues to evolve, we're seeing more music being created than ever before. And at the same time, production music labels are managing an overwhelming volume of submissions while trying to identify music that's not only great, but placement ready. So the question that we want to talk about and address today is how can composers and production music labels connect more effectively? Today we'll explore that question from both perspectives. We'll talk about how the production music ecosystem works, what labels are looking for, what makes music placement ready, and where the current discovery process creates friction for both composers and labels. And we'll also discuss how the industry is evolving and examine one example of how those challenges are being addressed through Track Trove. And rather than focusing just on the platform itself, I think we'll use this as a case study to kind of understand how new approaches to music discovery can help reduce barriers for you all, create more efficient connections between composers and labels, and ultimately expand opportunities for people like you to have or generate additional income from the music you're already making. So whether you're looking to learn more about the production music space, refine your approach, or explore new opportunities for your catalog, I really hope today's conversation gives you practical insight into a growing part of our industry and really empowers you to think differently about where your music can live. So with that, I'd love to introduce our panelists, Mirette, who is an AWFC member and production music label owner, and Alan, who is a composer, production music label owner, and also the founder of Track Trove. And before we jump into the discussion, I want each of you to kind of like introduce yourselves just so everyone has a clear picture of like the value you're bringing to this conversation. So we could start with Mirette, maybe.
Sure. My name is Mirette, as you already know. First of all, EmmoLei, that was a wonderful introduction. You really summarized things well. And as she said, I'm based here in Los Angeles, and we have about, I would say, 250 composers globally. Baked into our mission is to have gender parity among our composers. We're woman-owned. We've been doing this since 2018. We continue to grow. And one of the reasons I'm here today is because we are a beta tester for Track Trove. And I am a scientist, an applied scientist, which is my background. And I feel really interested at this point of the game to get a sense of how users feel about this new technology and how can it be used for good.
All right, Alan.
So first of all, thank you so much, EmmoLei, and thanks so much to the AWFC for hosting this today. So greatly appreciate it. Also wonderful to be doing a panel with Mirette, who is a good friend and someone who has brought so much to our industry, actually. So I'm primarily a film and TV composer. I have been for many decades, actually. I did start getting very involved in production music around 2009. I had a particular opportunity from a client which kind of led me into the production music space, and it just landed up becoming a very big part of what I do. I'm onto my third catalog now. I have right now I curate and run Luminary Scores, which is a BMG catalog, and Lazar Focused, which is an APM catalog. And I also am very involved in the Production Music Association. I'm the vice chair. And one of the things we're very proud of is Production Music Conference, which I can see some of the faces here on the Zoom today. I know them from PMC, so wonderful to see everybody. And also more recently, of course, have been involved in Track Trove, which, as Mirette has mentioned, is, I hope, a positive use of AI as a composer, as a label owner, and as vice chair of the PMA. I'm firmly against generative AI. But I'm very, very much hoping that AI can be positive tools for us, both in business and perhaps in some aspects of our composing as well. So,
all right. Well, thank you both for your introductions. And so I'd actually love to start by kind of grounding everyone just in the production music ecosystem, because like while many of our members work in film and TV, I know production music can sometimes feel like its own separate world. So for Alan, even Mirette too, like for those who may be newer to production music, like how would you describe what a production music label actually does? So like that's maybe what purpose do labels serve? What makes production music different from scoring, and where does production music fit into the entertainment ecosystem?
Ellen, I'm going to let you start, and I'll fill in. He's the veteran, the seasoned one here.
Alrighty. So production music, funny enough, it actually has a very long history. One of the very first music libraries, as it was called back then, was started back in 1909 by an English composer, Mayer de Wolf. So it's evolved through a lot of different eras. And for a long time, particularly in the 80s and 90s, so-called library music had a reputation as perhaps being lower quality, as something which would be used in corporate videos and sort of in the late 1990s and into the 2000s, this started changing very rapidly, mainly because of the explosion of content around the world. It started with cable TV, then the internet, and suddenly there was just much more films and TV shows and all sorts of content being made. And it all needed music. Often it needed music quickly. It needed it on a schedule. It needed it on a budget. And production music suddenly started having a real moment. And also folks like Hans Zimmer started getting involved, top composers with the Extreme Music label. And suddenly around 2010, it was much, much higher quality than it had ever been before. And what we see today, as the PMA, we do a lot of surveys. We try and figure out where's our music used. And production music is used absolutely everywhere today. It's used on TV. It's used in film. Often Oscar-nominated movies are using production music tracks. It's used all over the internet. From our surveys, which we've done with various broadcast monitoring services, around 40 to 50% of the music on TV and streaming globally is from production music catalogs. Now, as a composer myself, I'll confess, when I first got into it, I had a lot of, I won't say issues, but I wasn't sure that I wanted to get involved because I know personally the joy and the beauty of writing music directly to picture. I'll say straight out, writing music direct to picture is still the best thing in the world for a composer. And honestly, if you're a client, you're still going to get the best result if you're working with a composer you know and trust. But the realities of budgets and schedules and needing certain types of music very, very fast have given production music a real place. And as someone myself who has got very involved in production music, it takes up 50 to 60% of my time now. To be honest, it's been a wonderful complement to my film and TV composing work. I feel, at the end of the day, music is music. So I bounce back and forth between scoring directly to picture and putting together production music albums and catalogs. And I learn on both sides of the equation. In production music, you often have the opportunity to try new things, to experiment with ideas. You've perhaps been thinking about new instruments, new ways of arranging. Production music is a great place to try stuff out because you're effectively writing against a blank slate. You're not accountable to picture, director, producer, editor. You can do something that's truly in your own voice. And interestingly, it often finds a place in catalogs. And then when you go back to writing against actual picture, what you've learned on the production music side can actually be really beneficial and vice versa. So I will say as well, one of the things I really like about my involvement in production music is I am busy all the time. I finish a scoring project and I hop right back into making production music albums. So that kind of, I feel like it keeps me in the business. I know as a film and TV composer, those times when you don't have work can be so stressful. And if you've got a hand in production music, it keeps you making music, keeps you doing stuff, and keeps you learning as well. And it also has over the long term real financial benefits for both composers and publishers. I will not say it's quick money. My friend Joel Goodman, who's on the PMA board, referred to it as a get-rich-slow scheme, and that's pretty much it. But composers who build up catalogs of production music tracks over many catalogs over time, it becomes a very steady and supportive revenue stream for folks from royalties and so on. So I think I could talk forever about it, but yeah, sorry, I've been talking too much.
So I guess what I'm hearing you say is that aside from just like the revenue stream or the additional revenue stream, for you as a film and TV composer, it really keeps you sharp and allows you to just stay ahead of the curve a little bit. And it allows you to bring valuable creative insight into your actual scoring projects because you've kind of been sharpening your iron. Okay, cool. All right.
Absolutely.
So I guess, Mirette, from a label perspective, like what are you looking for when you're reviewing music or even like deciding on composers to add to your roster? Like, what does that look like?
Great question. I would like to add one thing. I know that I get to know many of my composers very, very well. And making a career out of music is not easy. And one of the things that production music allows you to do is when you do submit, that track can get used over and over and over and over again in completely different ways. So it becomes like an annuity. So the younger you start, the better. From the label perspective, what we have been focusing on is music that works brilliantly under dialogue. So underscore music. And if you notice in television, you'll have the really cool trailer big thing or moments where it's clear that was done to picture. But there are moments during dialogue where just some subtle music, minimalist music, can really elevate and accentuate the mood, or it can tell a story in and of itself. And in discussing with Alan, a couple of things, and one is when we look for music, we really have taken a look at what has performed best, what identity has emerged from our catalog. And getting some sort of brand in place was very important for us. So music that works really well under dialogue, extremely important. And I've got some examples that I'm happy to share. But looking for that kind of music can be difficult. Structurally, we look for music that you feel the emotion in the first 8 seconds. That's really important. And then we need to have different sections. Remember, music that is licensed can be edited and most often is edited. So having modules, little pieces that can be brought in for a particular moment is really important. So think of a whole box of Legos. The more you can do with a consistent theme, it can be used and put together in many different ways. So we require lots of stems. We really encourage some stings. We have 60-second cut downs, 30-second cut downs, so that you can have an entire piece for different lengths of scene. And this way, a music editor can cut it in very easily. And then we like to have some sort of conclusive thought. So the music really does have to tell a story in and of itself. And at the same time, from our perspective, because we do music for underscore, we need to have spaces. The music needs to breathe. It can't, remember, the music is not going to be the focus of attention. In fact, much of our music is really invisible. You don't notice it. And that's when we know we've done our job. And that apparently is not as common as people would think in the production music. It's not that easy to produce. So we do very detailed briefs, and I can share that with you later on as well.
I have another question actually. Like, what are some common misconceptions that composers have when they're engaging with you as like a label?
I think the biggest misconception is, how come my track hasn't gotten licensed yet?
Okay.
And I get lots of calls like that.
Yeah.
And then I look through our database and I can see a little bit of movement. But I can tell you that in many, many cases, it's not until 5 years after the release that it gets noticed, and suddenly there's a surge. And that can be very, very frustrating. Extremely frustrating. But suddenly you get this big check in the mail, and that's just for the sync. So if it gets picked up by a show and it gets played often a lot, the composers are getting 100% of the writer share on the back end.
Just
So,
to pick up briefly on that, it's very strange with production music catalogs because sometimes tracks get picked up very quickly in a couple months with after they've been released, you get a big sync license, and then sometimes they can sit for years and years. I mean, and to give you one example, a lot of the iconic tracks in Mad Men, come from the Sonoton production music catalog, which is a European catalog. I think there are 8 or 9 pieces on there which were part of Emmy award-winning episodes in Mad Men, and they literally got licensed 40 years after their original creation. So like that's why it's such a great long-term business.
That's right. We had a recent one. It sat for years, and now it's on the Spider-Man 2 video. It's just. We had another track sit for years, and it was picked up as the signature sound for a major brand, for Procter & Gamble. You just never know. It's a little bit like putting a message in a bottle, casting it out to sea and seeing where it lands. And then we've had some music, and this is the biggest surprise, where it gets used in ways that you couldn't have made this up. You couldn't have planned for it anyway. Very sexy, sultry, cool, mellow jazz got picked up for a Capri Sun commercial.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was like, and this very flowery flute type music got picked up by the boxing channel.
Interesting.
So it gets used in ways that you can never quite anticipate. But if the quality is high, and if you do follow the brief and a certain structure, that music supervisors and creatives are looking for that allows them to do some really good editing. It sounds like score.
Yeah. So I guess like now that we kind of have an idea of like what labels need, I want to get into like why connecting composers with those opportunities is still so challenging. And with that being said, this question is for both of you. Why do you think so many talented composers still struggle to get their music in front of the right people? And like, where do you think the current process begins to break down?
I can speak from a production label, and so can Alan, of course.
Okay.
But I get flooded. Oh, what do you think of my music? Is there a place in your catalog for this music? And it becomes an overwhelming job for me. And so what I loved about Alan's track trove is that it can all sit in a place where someone who needs that kind of music can access it instantaneously. That is huge for a label, to know that someone who really, it's a match between the music that you make, the music that you love, the music that you're passionate about, actually gets picked up by someone who can use it. So that's.
And I imagine like you don't even get a chance to listen to everything really either.
I mean, I even if I didn't sleep, I wouldn't have enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
It's a real, problem in a sense for composers getting their music out there. We put our heart and soul into our music, and then it's generally sending out emails to in the production music world to lots of labels. And honestly, most of the time, composers just don't get a reply. And the reason for that is often not about the music. That's the thing. I know as a label, I get so many submissions, and honestly, today most of the music is good. Most composers working in the industry today, they do good stuff, and it's not about the quality of the music so much. It's about you as a label. You're always working on something particular. You're working on a particular album, or maybe a client has reached out to you for a particular need, and you're trying to address that. So what you needed 6 months ago isn't what you need today. It isn't what you need 6 months from now. And that's why, like, for a submission from a composer to hit at exactly the right moment is often just unlikely, to be honest. Sometimes you get lucky and you have a connection like that. The other thing is, honestly, labels have a lot of pre-existing relationships with composers that they've sometimes worked with for 10 or 20 years. And they have a relationship of trust, and they've done a lot of stuff together. And, honestly, labels feel responsible for those composers sometimes. They want to, keep them working and stuff. But that said, it makes it difficult for new composers to get in, or for folks to get opportunities sometimes. And I will say, like, particularly with regard to women composers, like in my experience, we started noticing with my first label, Lalela Music, 2014, 2015, we were suddenly, oh my gosh, like, 97% of our composers are men. Like, what's up with this? And we would put out specific requests in our newsletters to clients, and trying to get more submissions. And often it's about honestly, like, labels have relationships with composers they've had for decades. They tend to get recommendations from those, and often it's like another male composer. And that's also what restricts a lot of the access. With PMA, Morgan McKnight, our former executive director, she felt extremely strongly about supporting women, which we are so proud of her legacy there. And she actively worked to bring women into PMC, because honestly, so many of the connections do happen at Production Music Conference. It's easy for composers to
Mm.
speak to labels, get in touch. And honestly, today, most labels want to have more women composers in their labels. Like it's the right thing to do. Like everybody knows that. And like honestly, like with Luminary Scores with my label, I have about a third of my Luminary label as women composers, and like I listened through to it, and obviously it's the right thing to do. But when you leave out women composers, you're leaving out half the human race, and therefore you are leaving out half the creativity and quality in the industry. So for me, it's also just a good business reason, but one has to be very mindful about how to connect.
Mm.
Um, so well, we can lead into Track Trove in a minute, but what I love
Yeah.
most about it is it's blind audition. So it's based purely on the music. It's not based on the connections you already have. It's not based on, because you're hanging out with a bunch of dudes at a bar and, the label owner says to you, yeah, send me some of your stuff, because honestly, that's a way a bunch of the connections have happened historically.
Mm.
So.
So what I'm basically hearing both of you say is that it's not really just a composer problem or a label problem. It's really like an ecosystem issue.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So I guess like we've kind of like identified where this friction exists, and I think Alan, you started by leaning into Track Trove because my next thing is like essentially what needs to change and how has I guess this essentially is what like inspired Track Trove, and why you created Track Trove. And so, can you talk about like what specifically inspired you to build Track Trove, and when you kind of realized like, okay, wait a minute, there's an issue here with discovery, with the ecosystem, like all of that, and just what specific problems you're trying to solve with Track
Mhm.
Trove in this space.
Mhm. So the discussions around Track Trove, started a couple of years ago. I have two good friends of mine, Martin Nedved, who he is the head of Studio Fontana, which is a Czech production music distributor. They also have distribution throughout Europe. It's called Fresh Tracks. And he is also the president of International Production Music Group, which is kind of like the European equivalent to PMA. And the other one is a guy called Anne Helder, who's from a Danish label called APL Publishing. And they are old friends of mine. They published my first catalog in Europe going back to 2011. I know them as very reputable people. And they also are aligned in terms of being very strongly against Gen AI. All the production music catalogs I know, both in Europe and here, feel very strongly about this. So I knew they were aligned in that way. They've started building a system called AIMS, Artificial Intelligence Music Search. They started it actually 6 or 7 years ago. And the programmer is this guy called Victor. He lives in a little village outside Prague and built this amazing system. It is not about generative AI. It's about music search, and it has transformed how production music catalogs are searched. It's become the de facto tool for most production music labels now. Rather than just using text search, you can throw in a detailed text description or need for music. You can throw in audio references. You can throw in visual references either. And the AI is incredible at kind of shining a spotlight deep into production music catalogs to find tracks that may be suitable. And it's not about sound alikes. It's tracks with a similar feel or that can just work in a similar way. And I used to run this panel at PMC called Battle of the Music Directors, where we had some amazing human music directors and compete against one another for music soup briefs. And the one year we ran Ames, and it actually won one of the spots. It was a Susan Sarandon movie, and they needed something 70-ish that was kind of in a Rolling Stones vibe, and they found a Sonotron track through Ames, which won the brief. So I was like, okay, there's something to this AI. So I was aware that there were all these issues with submissions, that for composers to get into new labels is such a difficult process. And like, how do you fix that? How do you make it blind? How do you just make it about good music, connecting to the right brief at the right time? and started chatting to Martin and Ina about that. And it's really where TrackTrove came. So it's using AIMS technology, which is a tried and tested AI technology for music search, not for generative AI, which we are firmly against. And it applies that to the pipeline of music between composers and labels. So composers and songwriters can essentially put their music in there and wait for when a brief from a production music label looking for a specific type of music at a specific time will connect to their music. And I can show you the system, but it's by blind audition, so it is purely based on the music. Now, Mirette is one of our early beta testers. Yeah, also just to say, we are still in beta. This is still a new platform. We're very encouraged by it. We've had almost 200 deals done now between composers and labels using the technology. I'm using it extensively for my own APM label. About half the tracks I'm putting on my APM label now are from TrackTrove. And it's just connecting me with composers I never would have interacted with, to be honest. Often they're not from LA, so they're putting music up there. I wouldn't have met them in person. Not many of them come to PMC, for instance. But they're being connected to the right label at the right time. And I'm finding great tracks, which is refreshing my roster. I mean, honestly, I'm really hoping this beta leads to widespread adoption, because I'm becoming dependent on TrackTrove myself for my own labels. So anyway, I'm talking too much.
Yeah, no, I love
this
this.
is good.
Yeah, I think we should actually like just kind of get into it so that I guess like Alan and Mirette, you guys can kind of demonstrate like how this even works, or just talk while you're
Sure.
demoing about like how this works.
Now, Alan has a great demo, but I just I threw in the chat the research that was done on blind auditioning and why it really, it is beneficial for everyone to do blind auditioning. But I do need to mention that when we first beta tested, we get points, and we spend points every time we say, "Oh, this is great music," and then we get to download and find out, okay, who is the composer and all the contact information, etc. Well, we went through all of our points and didn't have a woman composer. I said, Alan, we've got to fix this. And this is when we reached out to the Alliance. And as you can imagine, one of my particular pain points is finding wonderful, highly talented, exceptional female composers. So Alan, take it away, and then we can talk more about it.
Yeah.
So also just to add to what Mirette said there, like, our system is blind audition, as you'll see. The AI matching is based purely on the music. We launched this at PMC, so many of our beta composers essentially signed up at PMC and through some of the Facebook groups, which production music composers have. So we've kept the outreach quite small for the beta at this point. But PMC, even with Morgan's intervention over the years in building it, to be welcoming to women composers, we still only have 11% women in our pipeline on TrackTrove. So that's probably a lot higher than some of the catalogs out there, thanks to Morgan's work. But in order to, truly make this equitable, we just need more women in the pipeline. I'll be honest. It's why I'm very excited about reaching out today. I do hope many AWFC composers will see this as a positive thing and useful. And if your music gets into the pipeline, it will be listened to on blind audition. So it will. I'm confident it will break through. And look, I have personal skin in the game. My daughter is. She's 15 years old. She's a songwriter today. She's off at UCLA doing the songwriting intensive. I'm so proud of her. But I want opportunities for her and my younger daughter, who's also expressing an interest in musical theater. I'm going to have two entertainment and cricket. So this is like, it's personal for me, and I hope we can fix this, these pipeline issues. But let me demo the system for you. And I'm going to show you both sides of it. So I'm going to show you from the label side. And I'm going to show you from the composer side what your dashboard looks like. So I will start with the composer side. One sec. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, awesome. So if this is your composer side, this is just a test profile for a composer. But I'm going to show you essentially what it can do. It's easy to upload tracks. You just drop in stereo mixes of music that you have that is available and that you want to place with production music labels specifically. So this is not music going to music soups. It is specifically for production music labels interested in signing it. We only want unrepresented tracks, so they are ones that you own and control, that deals can be done with labels. Original, owned by you, not AI generated, legally cleared samples, sole composer and author, and also exclusive. So production music labels all want exclusive representation now if they sign your tracks, because it causes too many issues down the line with tracking and stuff if tracks are placed with multiple labels, as used to happen in some areas of production music. So easy to drag them in. They get added to your profile, and you can see here's a bunch of tracks which we have in this test profile. You can see these are all turned off as unavailable. So you can very easily turn tracks on and off, make them active or inactive on your profile. So say you have a track and it gets licensed somewhere, or you do a deal somewhere else, you can easily delete or make the track unavailable for AI matching. But if it's active, it's available for matching, and any label briefs will automatically include it in their search. Now, interestingly, some of the titles may be amusing to you. We do have a specific AI titling system which makes recommendations for you based on the music, which you can use or not use, but they're an option when you upload, and you can choose to use your own titles if you want. You know, honestly, a lot of our composers will put in material that they have from other sources, like say they've written music for a TV pilot, or they wrote 10 tracks for an independent film, but which they own and control, and they want to try license elsewhere. All of that material can sometimes be repurposed as production music. So you can also upload that. You can have the AI give a suggested title and use it or not use it. One other service we do provide to composers when they upload to TrackTrove is the AI will create metadata tags. I want to emphasize these metadata tags are not used in the AI matching. They're purely a service to composers if they want the metadata. Sometimes if they do a deal with the label, they'll be required to provide metadata. So it's just an additional service we provide. So your tracks sit there in your catalog. You can also obviously do a detailed profile. Now, this profile is not displayed publicly anywhere, okay? It is only available to labels if they unlock one of your tracks after a blind audition. So obviously you put in profile photo, various collaboration preferences, country, your website, you can put in socials, whatever you want labels to see if they unlock your tracks and they want to check you out, basically. You also put in contact details. Again, this is only for when labels unlock you. So that is very, very briefly what you've seen on the composer side. Now let me log in again to my label dashboard, one sec. So this is actually my label dashboard for my APM label. And you can see I have tons of briefs here. It's largely based around briefs. I'm going to show you one example. Which one would be a good one too? Sorry, one sec. Let me show you Curious Dramedy. Oh, and you know what? I didn't set sound sharing. Let me just reshare so that I can turn the sound on. One moment. Share sound. Okay. Okay, so here's an example of a brief that a production music label would put in. This is for a Curious Dramedy album. The text is playful, curious cues for scenes blending humor with emotional warmth. You can see we use some instrumentation examples, keywords, moods, use cases, like where this type of music might be used. You know, honestly, the AI can take any sort of text about what sort of music you're looking for. Some of our labels put in very quick keyword searches. Some of them put in literally the full detailed brief they would give to a composer so that the AI can match the tracks. You can also put in audio references. You don't have to. You can do just text or just audio, up to 10 audio references, or both. Here's a YouTube example. It may go into an ad. If it goes into the ad, we'll just wait for the ad to finish and then I'll play the cue. But you can punch in YouTube references, SoundCloud. Here's the YouTube reference I put in.
There's a new way to make
Sorry.
money on Amazon, and thanks to AI, it's practically free to get started.
Okay, so that's one of my references. Here's also an audio track that I've uploaded. Okay, so that gives you an example of the sound I'm looking for, the text I'm looking for. And the AI comes up with a bunch of different matches. Here's an example of one. Now you can see all of the examples that have come up here. There's no composer information displayed. So it is purely by blind audition. You listen through to as many, we provide up to 100 matches. The label can listen through blind audition. If they really like the track, they can favorite it. If they decide this is potentially a track they want to include, they can click on the Unlock Composer button. And at that point, the composer information will be revealed, and they will see your full profile. So bio comes up, collaboration preferences, information, PRO, website, whatever socials the composer has provided. You can unlock composer details. You can also, if you want as a label, hold the tracks. So if you hold the track gets taken off our platform for 30 days. And the composer and the label are introduced to each other. That's the first time the composer will get an email saying this label is interested in your track. And we leave it to composer and label to take it from there. So we don't intervene in the deal making. You can, as a label, provide deal points to the composer, deliverables, any revision requests. If you want, many labels are going to like the track, but they're going to want to modify it in some way. Honestly, labels are using this in very interesting ways. We had one of the majors last week had a specific bespoke request. They came to Track Trove, searched for tracks, and then reached out to the composer whose track they liked and said, we want you to write a custom track. So it's kind of interesting how it's been used. We've had instances where one track is liked a lot and composer then gets a request to write a whole album for the label. It's like people are using it in very interesting ways. So if you hold the track, it gets taken off our platform for 30 days. We actually assume that a deal is done after that. So we just take it off permanently if we don't hear. But either party can cancel at any time. So the composer doesn't want to do a deal with the label, they click on a cancel button, and same on the label side. So that is basically it. We do also actually have a labels page now, an album page now for labels, where composers can upload full albums that they are interested in placing. And labels can just come in and browse these. And again, they are, if you take a look, it's blind audition, but you unlock the composer if you like the album. So I think that's the short demo. I could go into more detail, but I know time is short.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
This is great, actually. Go ahead, Mirette.
I want to add to what Alan said based on our own experience. We had a composer whose track we really, really loved, and actually asked the composer, would you be interested in doing an EP? So from there it just all got expanded. Another composer was really tied to a small collection of the tracks staying together with any label that licensed them. And so we we were able to negotiate that kind of point. So this was really a wonderful introduction. So it's like, well, today we're going to go out for coffee. Maybe tomorrow we'll have lunch. And I think there's a dinner in our future. So a lot of that actually does happen in real time. I did want to add one other thing. We have based on my conversation with Alan, I've had to stop beta testing for a little bit because the pipeline just isn't full enough yet. But what I wanted to offer the Alliance are 2 briefs that we'll be uploading in December. So this is basically an invitation. If you have music along these lines, submit it to Track Trove. And I'm actually quite interested in and seeing and watching the pipeline grow, especially for women interested in having a support community that Empath offers as a label, which based on our current state of affairs is not real common. But we actually, so if it's okay, Alan, I can share the brief that we're going to put on. We're putting this on, and we will be actually using Track Trove for these 2 albums, and we want to test the before and after. We've done how many of these presentations now? 3, something like that. But anyone who is interested, I'm not actually sure how I can drag this into the chat.
Is it like a PDF file or?
It is a PDF file. It says unable to send file. But we have 2 briefs that are that have these briefs have performed the tracks that we have gotten from these briefs have done really, really well, and we've tweaked it to make it even better. So I know for a fact that these tracks do get licensed, at least in our library. Let's see if I can drop it now. Oh,
yeah, I was going to say no. What we might be able to do is because we actually, so for everyone, just so you know, we do have the access to Track Trove. Like you can make an account via Track Trove, so that'll be accessible in the members dashboard. That's available now. Right. So if you decide to, you can go do that. And also what I might chat with everyone about is potentially including this brief so that people can have a guide for like a focused way that they may be creating new music or just seeing like what they have that's aligned with the brief while they're making this profile if they're interested.
Mirette,
oh yeah, there we go.
If you look at the chat, there should be next to the little GIF icon, there's a little page looking thing. If you click that, that should allow you to upload files. Okay. I think you just can't drag them in.
Yeah.
Oh, I get all the Giphies. That's not it.
It's the icon next to it. Does that let you upload a file? If you hover over it, it says file.
Oh, let me see.
And just while Mirette is doing that, I just want to say thank you, Alan, for that demo, and even Mirette for your feedback. Actually, did you see it? Did you see it, Mirette?
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I can also put these up, and if anybody, I can share screen, and if you want to take a screenshot, that might be a better way to do.
Okay.
But these are going up on Track Trove. These briefs are going up on Track Trove. So I'm giving you a little bit of a sneak peek.
Yeah.
And we will be actually using Track Trove in early October for a December release.
And actually, that brings me to my next point because Alan, are you guys leaving beta in October?
Yes,
Okay.
we're intending to leave beta by the time PMC opens. So
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
so maybe we should do this before.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
If
there we
you-
go. So there's the brief, everybody, if you want to take a screenshot. And I see some questions in the chat. I definitely want to make sure folks get their
Okay.
questions answered.
Mhm.
So let's see. Rona, is it Rona? The question is, I'm a music producer and songwriter working in the production music space. I'm finding more songs are now being requested. Are you seeing this trend, and are there opportunities to send songs as well?
Yes. And so one thing I wanted to, we're actually going to be putting an email out soon to our existing composers just about common themes that we've seen in a lot of briefs, like what demand we are seeing particularly. So I actually wanted to mention those. And one of the things is specifically commercial radio ready pop with real vocals. So like upbeat, polished pop with genuine vocal performances, female led, often for fashion, lifestyle, dance energy, also indie pop with a driving bass, infectious hook. We always seen, I've got about 7 or 8 things here I can run through quickly. Epic hybrid orchestral trailer is always getting requests. This is an interesting one. Authentic world and regional music, particularly K-pop with real Korean
Wow.
vocals. We are seeing a lot of searches for this. Folk-rooted Indian cues, Celtic, Irish, and anthemic world
Wow.
fusion. Anthemic uplifting hip hop and rap with vocals, intimate solo piano and emotional underscore, modern Latin pop with Spanish vocals, quirky and comedic underscore, Christmas and seasonal crooner. Christmas music is a big deal in the
Always,
production music
yeah.
world. Retro dance nostalgia, we're getting requests for. I'm a piano, which is the like the Afrobeat stuff. A lot of labels are searching for that right now. Dark electronic and industrial underscore stuff for like true crime documentaries, tense drama. We've seen all of these genres being requested in particular.
I, I
Um,
actually I actually have one question based on that. So is there an opportunity or like on the roadmap a moment where you guys may integrate this data so that composers can see it real time and kind of focus their energy in terms of what they're uploading?
Absolutely. Like the thing
Okay.
is when labels put on a brief, we that brief is obviously private to the label.
Right,
So
right,
we're not publishing individual briefs everywhere,
right.
but what we do want to do is every 4 or 5 months say these are common threads in genres that we've seen.
Okay.
Because that helps labels just get if we've seen, commonality to briefs coming through and those things I just mentioned are all we've seen a lot of requests for all of those things. So
Okay, and I think Ella has Ella has a question. She says, all the tracks on Track Trove available to all the labels that are using the platform, and does each label have a different pipeline? And then
mhm.
she also asked how many tracks are there currently on Track Trove. I don't know if that's like site wide. If is that your question, Ella? Okay, okay.
So yeah, first of all, yes, all the tracks on Track Trove are they available to all labels in the sense that any label that puts in a brief or search for tracks is gonna have access to the entire database. So each label does not have a different pipeline. It's anything you put on there will be exposed to every single label brief. And I can tell you, we were looking through all of our composer data, and we can verify that 97% of our composers have had matches to briefs from labels at this point. So again, that doesn't mean they're getting unlocked or they're getting requested. As I said, we've had close on 200 deals done now, but I can say that everybody's material has been matched to different briefs. I will say at this point, we're not releasing how many tracks are on platform. That's a decision from our board. Again, because they want it to feel personal to labels, to composers. Everyone's stuff has got a place on there. So we don't want to be seen as like a big aggregator because we're not.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, so mhm.
Yeah.
I can say as a beta tester that when we put our briefs up and started auditioning tracks, the matches were astounding. It was a Zen moment for us. It was truly a Zen moment. The amount of energy that we spend scouting, especially women composers, the amount of energy that we spend sifting and sorting through tracks, listening. It was astounding what a great match it was for us.
This is music to my ears.
It really was a Zen moment for us, and I really do see this as a way for the future. And this is where I'm going to put a shameless plug in for all of us women. This is an opportunity that if you get on board now, you'll find your place in the universe. You just will.
That's a great segue because Joe asked, there's a waiting list and they want to know how they can join. So just to be clear though, this is accessible in the members dashboard. So I think there should be no barriers to anyone making an account, right? Okay.
No, if you sign up, join the wait list, I will be keeping an eye on it. I will make sure that you will get invitations within a day. So I'll be keeping an eye on it. And also just to say, anyone who does sign up prior to PMC before us leaving beta, we are giving to AWFC members. They will also get what's called founding composer status, which as we move out of beta, down the line, we assume there'll be specific benefits attached to it, and so on. Unfortunately, I do have to hop because I've got a 11 a.m. call, but I just wanted to quickly answer Pauline's question there.
Yes.
How are the tracks analyzed for Tracktrove's matches? It is purely by sonic content. It is not by the embedded metadata tags. So the AI AIMS technology, it basically models audio waveforms on more than a million different characteristics. And so it's all about analyzing waveform data and finding correlations in many, many ways between waveforms. And that is, as Mirette was describing, it's incredible seeing how the matches come up. That's how it works. It's not by metadata tags in any way. So also, please, I'll put my email in the chat as well, alan@tracktrove.ai. Please feel free, everyone, to personally reach out with any questions. Happy to answer them. And I hope to see you all sign up. I'll make sure to expedite invites. And, during the process of onboarding, please also reach out if you have any questions or concerns, happy to answer questions. We'll just be thrilled to get, a big group of AWFC composers on board. It makes our pipeline stronger, and I'll be thrilled to see that, And we're not reaching out broadly to, lots of amateur composers, or we've been very purposeful in where we go. We want the best professional songwriters and composers on our platform. So
absolutely. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Emily.
I know you have to hop, so I
sorry, I got to rush off.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay.
Yeah. And
thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Alan.
Have a wonderful day.
Yes. And Mirette, I just want to say thank you too, because your knowledge and your experience, even with Tracktrove, is really valuable, and just kind of helping our members not only understand what this offering brings to the table, but also just like what the landscape looks like and what they should be thinking about when they're engaging with the labels and understanding the dynamics between like what you all are looking for versus what composers are delivering and expecting and all of that. So yeah, I just really hope today's conversation gave everyone a better understanding of how the ecosystem works. And just reinforce that opportunity is just not about writing music. It's like understanding where your music fits, how it's discovered, and really how to position yourself for like long-term sustainability, because I know like right now it's just challenging. So I just hope this kind of gave you all some, I guess, rainbows and bright lights to kind of see like where the opportunities are, moving forward, because I know it's hard right now. So yeah, just another way to leverage your music and put it to work in a new way, essentially, if you're not already doing so.
I'm happy to answer any questions about production music. Feel free. I did put my email in the chat.
Okay, there we go.
And feel free to reach out with any questions. And sometimes it's just nice to get to know one another.
Yes, and thank you so much again, everybody.
Thank you
and
very
this-
much. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That was good to hear.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much.
Thanks very, very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for your
Fantastic.
wonderful questions too.
Yes. Well, I guess that concludes our session. Make sure you all get Mirette's email and Alan's email if you haven't. And we look forward to seeing how you all leverage the platform.
Fabulous. Thank you, EmmoLei.
All right.
Thank
no
you,
problem.
Emily.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.